Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Dino and Vito. We call it the Vito X Dino podcast. Dino as in Dean Haspiel, Vito as in me. I'm Vito Delsante. His name is Dean Haspiel.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dean Haspiel.
This is episode 31. I wanted to do something special. If you've been a long time watcher, listener, viewer of the show, we do our best. I think we might have missed one time, but that might not be true at all. I'm thinking we did mention him during the special chest face episode, but we do have every episode. We always mention Jack Kirby. Uh, it is as of today. It is August 15th.
Yep.
Jack Kirby's birthday. As viewers of the new Fantastic Four First Steps movie will know that his birthday is August 28th. So we thought, what better way to celebrate the guy that we call our patron saint? He's on our Mount Zion. Wait, no, no. What do we
Mount
call
Sinai.
Mount Sinai of
Oh,
comics?
Mount Sinai.
He's on our Mount Sinai of comics. Jack Kirby. Jack Kirby was born on August 28th, 1917. He passed away, unfortunately, February 6th, 1994. He would be 108 years old this coming week on the 28th.
Wow. Wait,
Yeah,
108?
108. This is his
Uh,
108th birthday coming.
all right. So what's interesting about that number is that he and Stan Lee did 102 consecutive issues of the Fantastic Four. Then Jack quit, went over to DC. And in fact, I think at some point, I think he knew he was getting a little tired of the fact that he was creating new villains and new characters for Fantastic Four, plus the other comics he was working on at Marvel.
Mhm.
And I want to say around issue 60, 70, maybe 80 of Fantastic Four, he started recycling a lot more. And then if he did create a new character, it was kind of like a character that you never really revisited. It's
Oh,
just like a
one
one-time,
off.
one-off type character. They weren't that great. And I think he was a little pissed off because he realized the creators' right issues were starting to, be a conversation, more
Mhm.
so than not. But issue 108. So I believe he was working on what would have been issue 103 and or 104. I don't remember if it was a two-parter, if it was intentionally a two-parter. And he quit, but there were these pencils. And I think issue 108 was, even though he was at DC doing New Gods and everything else that he was doing at DC, Marvel kind of was like, oh, and Jack Kirby is returning to Fantastic Four for an issue or two, which was, I believe was like issue 108 and maybe 109. I don't remember. But and John Buscema was the artist that added the other pages that were missing, and they kind of doctored this story together.
Like Frankenstein did a little bit.
Yeah, they Frankenstein did, which I've heard, and I think we did mention this in an episode, or I might have suggested it. I have heard that Fantastic Four #1 was a Frankenstein.
Really?
That
Sense. I mean,
well, it's a
based
monster
on,
comic. It's a
yeah.
monster comic. They were doing monster comics. Uh, the legend has it that Martin Goodman, who was Stan Lee's uncle,
Yes.
was playing golf with the guy, I guess, who owned DC Comics, and the guy at DC Comics was saying something about how, oh, we're doing this Justice League book where we team up all our characters into a team, and I don't know what superheroes they were publishing at the time. Was it Namor and Human Torch and maybe some others, or not?
At Marvel, I don't even think they were doing
Well, there
any.
wasn't a Marvel yet. It was a Timely still,
Right.
right?
I don't think they were I think they were still in their Western sci-fi stuff more than anything.
Right. Okay. So yeah. Again, I don't know if this story is true or not, because then it'd be like, oh, let's make a superhero team. So, and then, I've always thought, because, I mean, not me, but that, the Beatles were so popular, the Fabulous Four,
Mm.
that maybe the title came, Fantastic Four, but also Jack Kirby had done Challengers of the Unknown for DC Comics. So apparently the theory was that they took like an already basically written and drawn Jack Kirby monster comic,
Mhm.
and then Frankenstein, the Fantastic Four into it,
Mhm.
which is why some of the story and the narrative actually doesn't make sense logically in
Mm.
terms of what happens. I think there's something specific with the Human Torch that doesn't make sense. and they were just putting this together to put it out there, to put out a team book to see what would happen. And then I don't know whose idea was, let's just start it as a Marvel Comics rebranding,
Right.
because I believe it was a Marvel comic. I know it's known as the first Marvel comic, but I believe Marvel Comics was the logo on it. I'd have to look at the cover again.
Right. I
Anyway,
I keep playing with my light today because I feel like I'm coming in like with all like these kind of like because of my beard the way it is, it looks like very like stark cheekbones, like they're just like almost like Mignola inked
it's cool,
cheekbones
man.
and stuff.
You
Anyway,
look good.
I did want to show. This is funny. I found this a couple of years ago at a discount store called Ollie's here in Pennsylvania. They're all over the place, but it was this. DC did a 100 celebration, I think 4 issue, 5 issue miniseries, and it's very interesting. Like the talent that's involved, the stories. Walter's in here, Howard is in here, Paul Pope does a cover. Here goes a piece of the Chaykin part where he
And
does.
what character he do? He did the
He did
Newsboy Legion.
Newsboy Legion meets Boy Commandos,
That's right. That's
which
right.
which obviously like here it is. Paris is free.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
that's totally Howard's bailiwick, But
Absolutely.
it's a very interesting story. It just serves to show how much, uh, without knowing if Marvel did anything similar, it just shows how much imagination Kirby had and how much you can mine that even without him being around, which
Yep.
is both amazing and sad at the same time.
Yep.
Like it's beautiful and disgusting. Like
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
it's almost like how Alan Moore was like, you guys are going to stop publishing Watchmen after 5 years, right? So I can do whatever I want with them. And DC's like, yeah, sure. Yeah, we're never going to do him again. And then they
Yeah,
just
but
kind
that's an absurd that you can't say, that's ridiculous. Like, I guess, sorry, I wasn't at the meeting, or
of, right.
obviously, whatever the contract for Watchmen was, but I don't know any publisher that would do that. Like, if it
No, no.
sells, it sells. They're
Yeah.
not trying to not sell it, So, but speaking of, our friends Tommy Lombardozzi and Mike D, who co-host the Jacked Kirby podcast. I just listened today, episode 298, where they talked to Tracy Kirby,
Oh, wow.
Jack's
Granddaughter, right?
granddaughter.
Yeah.
So, and it was really interesting to hear her talking about her grandfather. And I encourage anybody who's a Jack Kirby fan to go listen to that. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
And yeah,
no, go ahead. What were you going to say?
no, that's it. I was
Well,
going to
I
hand it
mean,
over to you.
as much as, anybody can be, I think you're one of the bigger influenced, you know, artists by Jack Kirby. I would say you, Eric Larson, Bruce Timm, uh, maybe to a lesser or maybe more refined way, um, Steve Rude, Arthur Adams. Like you don't really see it, but it's there. You know what I mean. Like
Ron Franz is pretty blatant.
Ron French, definitely friend of mine.
I would say Mike Allred is a perfect combination of Kirby and Ditko.
Yeah, I would say that's a pretty good assessment. Like
With some Alex Toth thrown in there, of course.
and of course,
Everybody's trying to do Alex Toth, and nobody's doing Alex. Actually, not true. Chris Samney is pretty close to doing Toth.
yeah.
In
And we're
a great
forgetting,
way.
maybe we're not forgetting, but we can't leave off Mike Mignola from that list of
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
But so we decided we're going to do like a little fun exercise like we've been doing lately, and we're going to list our 10 favorite Jack Kirby created heroes and Jack Kirby created villains. A lot tougher than you think.
Well, on the one hand, I was going to try and say this to you before. Like, on the one hand, it's absurdly easy. Well, what's hard is that there's so many great characters.
Right.
What's easy is that the ones that are the top 10, I think most people would agree with.
Well, top 10 is subjective, obviously. Or that's what we're saying, our top 10. And I know that you and I personally will have some crossover. But I don't know, like it's easy to just go, oh, why don't you just say all the Avengers? Like off the top, and you could if that was your list, but I don't think.
Well, what's funny about that is, let's think about, like, if you said all the Avengers, let's just start with the first Avengers, right? which was Iron Man, Thor, Ant-Man, Wasp,
And
and
Hulk.
Hulk.
Hmm.
Jack Kirby only invented or co-created the Hulk and maybe the Wasp, maybe not.
I'm not sure about the Wasp. I'm
If the Wasp came from with Ant-Man, then maybe that's a Larry
Thor is a
Lieber co-creation.
technicality. Thor is a technicality because he's an existing myth. However, the
Right.
Marvel Universe version of Thor is a wholly created character. I still would count that as a Kirby character.
But not created by Kirby.
But he did Journey into Mystery.
I believe. All right. Oh, are we saying that Larry Lieber was the writer of Thor, so he would have been the co-creator?
Right. That's
All
what I
right.
would say.
I see. Then shoot, I should have him on my list because I mistakenly now I'm trying to find. Hold on one second. Sorry. I'm trying to get. Are you on the internet? I'm sorry that we're doing
Yeah,
it like
that's how we're
this.
recording, Dean.
No, I mean, of course, but Thor, Marvel, created by, and it would be Stanley, Larry Lieber, and Jack Kirby.
Yeah, like,
Although Larry, see, this is the thing. Larry was also an artist. Um,
but he didn't draw. He didn't like do finishes over Kirby, or he didn't do
I'm looking right
layouts.
now. I'm looking right now. All right, let's assume that Thor, his brother Lee to write the stories, Kirby of the Thor visual design. Okay, Kirby Thor. See,
Okay.
I'd always wondered if he was the first person to draw him, and he was. Okay,
Okay. So I would, yeah, I definitely count Thor in that, if only because the visual language of Thor, up until, geez, who takes over? It wasn't Buscema. Buscema did Avengers and FF. Um, I forget who takes over for Kirby on Thor.
Oh, you mean right after his
Yeah.
well, and that's an interesting. Yeah, I don't even. It's not like a Don Heck or something like that. It's not definitely not Gene Colan. I don't know. We'd have
No,
to look at that.
I maybe it is Don Heck, but anyway, my point being that I feel like Kirby created the visual language of Asgard and the Asgardians.
Oh, absolutely,
So I think that's why you credit him with creating it. You know what I mean?
absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
in the same token of Stan Lee using that kind of pseudo Shakespearean like dialect for the Asgardians,
Right.
the spoken language of what we expect Thor to sound like. So um, I think it's like fairly obvious that in the movies it's mostly British or Australian actors playing the Asgardians. So, and I think that harkens back to what Stan did, with the dialogue. So I
Right.
think, if you're looking at, the visual language of it, I think that's all Kirby, no matter who comes on.
But speaking to our lists, I because I was a little confused whether or not Jack Kirby had absolutely, actually co-created Thor. I didn't
Mhm.
have him on my list, and now, of course, I have to put him on my
Sure,
list.
sure.
Not only because I loved Jack Kirby's run on Thor,
Mhm.
and specifically later on when I think he was doing FF and Thor at the same time, I believe.
Mhm.
So 2 weeks FF, 2 weeks Thor, right? To get pencils done or whatever it was that they did, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Which means I have to bump someone else off my top 10, even though we have maybe, like you said, gonna have some
Honorable
runner-ups in
mentions.
there or
Yeah, I
honorable
have some
mentions.
honorable mentions that I'll actually start with my list of honorable mentions
Oh,
because
I might have to I might have to do mine secondary. I might be flipping some around.
okay, that's fine. So I'm going to start at the bottom of my honorable mention list and then go up to the top, and these aren't in any order, but I
Right.
think that, um, you'll see, kind of like the top, I mean, the bottom one, two, three, the bottom three and the top five are like three are villains and five are
Got
heroes.
it.
At the bottom of my honorable mention list is, I don't know who named this guy, had to be Kirby because it definitely sounds like a Kirby name. Devilance the Pursuer from
What?
Devilance the Pursuer is from New Gods. Like it is the craziest name for a character, but I also love the kind of the design of him as well.
Right.
It's just so it's the thing about the New Gods, and I think I might be um maybe not speaking out of school, but like maybe crushing a few hearts here. The New God like designs are silly, but they're not silly
Sure.
in the sense that comic books are silly. You know what I
Right.
mean? Not
Right.
that it's a bad thing, like the bright Mr. Miracle's costume will always flummox me because it's red, yellow, and green. Those are the most
Oh,
Puerto Rican color, as we say in my family, the
ah,
most Puerto Rican colors you can put together. Like they're so
but
bright.
the way they put that together in the design is so good.
Yeah,
Do you
I mean,
remember
I
a
can't.
character? Do you remember a character that Marvel published? I think in the '70s. I think it was called the Human Fly.
Yes.
I remember thinking, what a goofy name, but I was like the word human and something. But like, what a cool looking costume.
Oh, that costume's great. Yeah.
It was like a stunt
Little
man.
Elvis cape and everything.
Yeah, totally. It was like I think red and white or red
Mhm.
with white lines and something
Yeah,
like, piping or whatever. Mr. Miracle's costume, I believe, is one of the best costume designs Jack Kirby ever did.
really.
That's how I feel. Absolutely.
Okay. I
I
mean,
love it. But
it's
also
kind
he
of
was
motto.
cranking out so many characters in the new guys.
Sure. But the thing about Kirby's design too is that he does more with one line than most people can do with like seven. And so when you see the extra lines put in, you're
Yeah.
like, they are there for a reason, but you can never, but the visual language of comics being starting from like say Superman, in 38, and then you see somebody like a Mr. Miracle or Lashina from the Female Furies. Like the thing is like he's adding in these extra lines, but they're not like Jim Lee adding like an extra collar, for the New 52 version of
Mhm.
99% of the male characters, or who's an overly rendered like a
Well,
Neil
he
Adams.
would add a lot of, I mean, like people, let's say, will make fun of Rob Liefeld for doing
Right,
a lot of pouches or something, right?
right.
So he sometimes he made certain characters look very cumbersome. But guess what? Half the time he drew those kind of characters died 3 pages later. They look so cool, like a monster or a villain, and then they were dispatched within pages,
you know
like,
like the thing about Liefeld is I think this might be sacrilegious to say, but I'm going to say it. I think Liefeld gets Kirby design better than most people do. I think
I
the
mean, in the
pouches and stuff,
spirit of, yes,
yeah.
sure,
I think the
sure.
pouches and the huge guns and stuff,
Or the headgear sometimes,
yeah, I think that's a very Kirby thing. It's just the way he did it or his style, maybe might not lend yourself to think that automatically. But I think Liefeld does Kirby as well as anybody. It's just
in terms of the spirit of I think,
yes,
I mean, listen, to
yes,
me, the Kirby artists I got to work with the closest and know the best, meaning not Kirby artists, but inspired, Walt Simonson.
yeah,
But also
yeah.
Walt does his own thing, you know, so he totally gets Kirby. And in
Yeah.
fact, he made me, and I guess we're going to jump around a little bit,
Mhm.
who is not on my top 10 heroes when I think about Kirby heroes, and maybe should have been, but then I realized no, Walt Simonson made me like him,
Balder
not
the
Jack
Brave.
Kirby. Would be who?
Balder the Brave.
Orion.
Oh, see, Balder the Brave is that for me. Like that's
Oh,
Walt
definitely. Balder the Brave is because I did a mini series with
miniseries.
Sal
Yeah,
Buscema,
yeah.
you know, and he did great stuff with Volstagg, Balder, and who's the other guy? He has
Fandral
like a who?
or Hogun. Hogun.
Oh, Hogan with the hat
Hogan
and
the
then
Grin.
the
Yes.
horns. Hogan the and I mean what he did with the Executioner alone,
Mm.
Simonson, right?
Yeah.
But so sorry, that's the Thor characters. Now going back to what I was saying about Orion, he did that Orion series, 25 issues, with Mr. Miracle and a whole bunch of
Mhm.
new guys, obviously. And he's the one who made me like Orion, not Jack Kirby. I always like the idea of the pact in New Gods between Mr. Miracle and Orion and the High Father and Darkseid, where they switch sons to keep broker some kind of weird peace treaty, as it were. But Orion, would reveal that, the mother box or whatever hid his ugly face,
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's just supposed to be this beautiful Adonis type guy, right? And he's a great character, but I didn't put him on my top 10 because of Kirby.
I didn't either. I didn't. He's not. He didn't make my list. But the thing I think we find a lot of times is that um, when we go back and read some of Kirby's work, the storytelling is there, but the story isn't as compelling. Like the way his dialogue or however he writes, the actual characters, and so we tend to take our favorite, like an Orion, like a uh, uh, trying to think of somebody else did quote unquote better. Um, we tend to think of the other character, I mean the other creators, and it's like they contributed to Kirby's lore,
Well,
So
think about this. What you're also speaking to is when other creators come in and build out and grow these characters, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse, right?
hmm,
And I remember when I was picking up Mr. Miracle in the back issue bins and picking up Jack Kirby's. I started picking up the Marshall Rogers drawn issues and the Michael Golden drawn
wow,
issues.
yeah,
Okay. Then I went back and I read the first like 16 issues or whatever it was that Kirby did of Mr. Miracle. And but what a great domino of Kirby, Marshall Rogers, Michael Golden, and then I forget who took over after that, or the series ended for a while. And then of course there have been other iterations, as recent as Tom King and Miss Gerard's, which is being turned into a TV show, their version
yeah,
apparently. So yeah, I was trying to base it purely on the Kirby version
same,
of
same.
the characters,
Hmm.
um, but also knowing that a lot of the Kirby heroes and villains I loved were co-written, and so I was also trying to keep some of pure Kirby in there as
Yeah,
well, because I actually am a fan of the way he writes. I'm entertained by it, and of course he makes great stories, but his actual dialogue, he had a certain way about him,
yeah.
in writing.
Here's Devilance the Pursuer, if you can see. Uh,
Wow.
just
And
a
that's a
goof.
villain? Oh no, that's a honorable mention.
Yes, this is one of my honorable mentions. Here's another good Kirby shot, courtesy of Google.
Oh wow.
Like
And that was in
again,
the New Gods? That's a New
yeah, he's
God?
so goofy looking, but I love him. Like and
Well,
like
I
his
liked
name is just ridiculous.
I liked what's his name? Bug the Forager or something? That
Forager
Michael
is
read.
on my honorable mention list.
Oh, well, there you go.
And I'll actually go ahead and name all the new gods that are on here. Uh,
Okay.
Calabac, Mantis, Forager, Devilance the Pursuer, like I said, and who almost made my top 10, Big Barda.
Oh, same. And
Because
I same.
I think in terms like design sense and the character herself, such a gold mine. Like that Miracle with Tom King and Mitch Gerards, like we were just mentioning, if you don't love that character, and even like the current Ram V story, like she's so like she's a mother now, and but she's still like a war like one of the female Furies, and
Yeah.
that's what makes her so
Yeah.
cool. Like to me anyway, is that you know she was a villain at first, and then she
Yeah.
fell in love, and then like she became Scott's wife, and like the whole dynamic with Barda and Oberon in the Mr. Miracle series,
Right.
like I think she's great. Like so, yeah, she almost made my top 10.
I'm forgetting her name right now, and she almost made my top 10 villains. Is who's the cranky bitch?
Granny Goodness,
Granny Goodness
yeah.
is awesome.
The
I
reason
love Granny
One of my
Goodness.
favorite things about Granny Goodness in the Justice League animated series, who voiced Granny Goodness, but good old Ed Asner.
Oh my God, that's brilliant.
It is brilliant, and when you hear it, it's brilliant.
That's brilliant. I love that. No, I mean he had so many good. It's almost like
Jack Kirby's throwaways are some of the like even are some of like you can take one of his throwaways and you can make an entire series of them and just be like, wow, this was like he didn't even think about this guy. You know,
right.
he just kind of like drew him and then threw him in the background.
Which is crazy.
And
Like,
you can just be like, this guy's got so much to him that you can, like Forager. Forager, the best stories about Forager are Cosmic Odyssey, which is by Jim Starlin and Mike Mignola, and I think P. Craig Russell might have, or maybe just Craig Russell. Uh, One of them inked the book. Um, and then the Mike Allred, who we just mentioned as well, did a miniseries for Forager at DC, maybe like 10 years ago or something.
I think his brother co-wrote it.
Yeah,
Um, Speaking of honorable mentions, because we didn't really get too much into it, but I was at Terrificon last weekend, and I had a great time and hung out with, like, Simonson, Chaykin, a whole bunch of other cartoonists. I got to tell Ralph Macchio how much I loved him doing Marvel 2-in-1, which is one of my favorite comic book series. But I had my first cosplay, so we were talking about Granny Goodness.
yes,
Uh, Granny Goodness adjacent, I'd say, is the Coney, which is more like the Punisher.
yeah.
Uh, but our friend Carrie Sanders did an incredible cosplay of the
So,
Coney, and it was just like so surreal
mhm,
to see like her fully realized, with the flesh and blood,
yeah,
and totally got the mask right and the broken kind of antennas. It was awesome. So thank you, Carrie.
yeah. I once had, I don't know who did it, but it was funny. There was a Baltimore Comic Con year that Sean Isaacs was there, and he and I were there, and so like obviously Stray, and somebody came dressed up as one of our characters, not Stray, but the Theory, and it was like this is the craziest. Like I like the idea of making something that somebody would actually, go that far with, like
Right,
just
right.
like the coming out of Terrificon, I said that I don't have to like I'm going to be riding a high all week because you spoke to Jerry Ordway uh,
Yep.
on my behalf, sort of, because Jerry had said some nice things about me on the Word Balloon podcast. And I just like, hey, I didn't get a chance to thank him because it was, in a chat, but I bounced out, before I could hear it. And I was like, just tell him, I said thank you. And apparently Jerry likes my stuff. So
Yep.
I can die happy.
By the way, Jerry, yeah, absolutely. I mean, to get that kind of acknowledgement is
It's,
always.
yeah, it's not validation. It's just like somebody you admire, like, and who is in the field that you are in appreciates your work too. So
Yeah.
not that he's not, I wouldn't say he's a fan of mine, or I wouldn't say that, like he's as fanboyish about my stuff as I am about his. He's got more of a catalog of work than I do. But the fact that he liked something that I did just makes me, giddy.
I mean, and here's a little. It's not a spoiler. It's not even a hot tip or anything, but I had kind of come up with an idea that I've been trying to crack to pitch to Archie to somehow figure out a way to get the Mighty Crusaders,
Mm.
and me doing the Fox again somehow for the fun of it. And I might even share with you the idea, Vito. I don't remember, like a year or two ago. And because I saw Jerry, I was telling him a little bit what I want to do. He said, "Send me an idea." And a year ago, this last weekend, I sent him something, and he came back at me with such great ideas and great notes of how to
Mm.
make it better. And then I did nothing. It wasn't like I was frozen. I know why. I know why I didn't do anything. And I got to say to him when I saw him last weekend, like, you know why I didn't? I great ideas, and there's a way to find this. It's because I just don't have faith that Archie, number one, well, first of all, you're always pitching, so you never know if you're going to get the gig or not, right? You
Right.
have to really convince them. My
Right.
issue with Archie has been that they'll do 4 issues. Now they're doing 1 issue. But even with 4 or 5 issues, the last time they committed to a series, at least with the superheroes, was when I did the Fox,
Right.
and they don't really stick to their guns and like come out with a monthly and get people to join in on it. Like if it doesn't do well out the gate, we don't want to continue it. You
Right.
know, and it's just like, no, maybe if you what's the line about if you build it, they will come type of thing. Like give it a chance, give it some time,
Oh yeah.
so it made me just not want to even pursue,
Yeah,
because of it.
and you've also been very candid about how you're, I wouldn't say allergic to, but like you're less
Yeah,
likely to pitch
I'm allergic. I'm
to
allergic.
pitching than in the past.
Yeah.
I'm going to finish up my honorable mentions. Funny enough, no Marvel characters on this honorable mention list.
Oh wow.
Ben Boxer was on my honorable mention.
He's on my actual list.
Okay, let's not talk about him then until we get to
Okay.
the list. But he's on my honorable mention. Um, the Kirby version of Sandman. This is again like how you were talking about the idea that about Thor. Like Kirby didn't create Sandman. I believe Whitney. Oh, I forget his name. Whitney something or
Wait, the Sandman that appears in the Frightful Four?
no. This is the DC version of Sandman.
Oh, all right. Yeah, he did not create that.
No,
I don't
this is
think.
no, he didn't. But he created a character that took on the mantle of Sandman,
Got it.
and he had a red mask, yellow kind of collar, and stuff. Fantastic design, like absolutely amazing
You
design.
like that better than Mr. Miracle? It was
I
orange and
do,
yellow.
I do,
Orange and
and
yellow.
because it's like it's so I don't know, like there's something you're right, orange and yellow again, Puerto Rican colors, but
Ah,
um, but yeah, I've always been drawn to that character for some reason, like in terms of the design and like the weird monsters that are in it because it takes place all in a dream world.
but it never looked like he never looked like a Sandman type of, like, I didn't
No, not at
understand
all. That's
how
that.
that was even, in a way. Do you remember Our Man?
Yeah, yeah.
And he had, what was it, like, the glass timer with
Well,
the
he
sand?
he had he took a pill called Miraclo, and it gave him an hour's worth of super strength and
Right.
invulnerability. And so he wore the uh, hourglass on, to kind of time how long he
The
had.
time, it was an hour long. That's why they put that in there. I think Neil Clyde wrote a pitch featuring Our Man that I forget where we were pitching. I mean, at DC, but I forget for what kind of, was it his own thing? Was it part of something? I don't remember anymore.
Mhm.
Anyway, all right. So
Wait, I got one more on my honorable mention, but before I do that,
okay.
I want to show this is the Sandman that we're talking about.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Is like I
absolutely.
forget his name. He was a doctor of some kind. And again,
Oh,
like
you know what's funny? So I'm looking at a Sandman that doesn't look like Sandman to me, and
uh,
then as legend has it, according to Steve Ditko, and I think even to Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, Jack Kirby had first crack at drawing Spider-Man,
mhm,
or at least a Spider-Man character, not necessarily the Peter Parker version, but
mhm,
a character named Spider-Man. And uh, I've seen the Steve Ditko design of Jack's design.
mhm.
Have you seen that? And it's like a guy with a gun, or like a superhero with a gun or
Yeah,
something,
he's
right?
got
Like,
his character. He doesn't have the webs on him, and he's kind
no,
of stiff looking because he's so big.
right.
He doesn't.
And again, nothing that says spider at
Right,
all.
right.
But he did he co-create the Fly for Archie
He
and
did with Joe
with
Simon.
Joe Simon?
Mhm.
And I think that was a little more similar to his Spider-Man design, was like the Fly.
Had the gun and everything.
So maybe, did the Fly come out before Spider-Man?
I believe. Oh, that's a good question. I'm gonna
And
look it up.
did he dust it off and use it?
I believe the Fly came first, but I might be wrong. Um,
I do feel like it's a 1940s character. I feel like it is.
1959,
Oh wow, 2 year difference. Well, no, well, actually,
like
but
four, wasn't it?
Amazing Fantasy didn't happen until 62, right? Or was that
62 or
60,
60? Yeah, yeah, 62.
62?
Yeah, it says some sources indicate that Marvel's Spider-Man may have been inspired by this initial version. So,
Interesting.
because
Okay,
probably because Kirby drew that first sketch.
exactly.
The last honorable mention on my list, and we were trying to avoid teams, but I had to, I can't pick one member of this team because they kind of work all simultaneously. The Challengers of the Unknown.
Oh yeah, that's hard to pick one. You're right. Like
Yeah.
that's
So,
interesting.
and
Because they're all human. They're not like Doom Patrol or Suicide Squad. I mean, where everyone has an individual kind of could have their
They're
own series, maybe,
they're almost the A team when you think about it.
Right.
Like they're specialists in different fields. One's a professor of uh, astronomy or something. One is a strongman or a stuntman. One is a pilot, I believe, with Hal Jordan. I
Well,
think.
they basically were the progenitor of that Frankenstein Fantastic Four comic.
Yeah, yeah.
So all right. So have we done any? Well, I spilled the beans on one, but we haven't really gone through like our list. So let's
Yeah.
I feel like the only thing that I would say is the top of my list, because I didn't do it in order.
Yeah,
I'll
I'm
just
then I'm
start.
going.
I mean, it's anybody who knows me knows I picked the Thing, Ben Grimm, aka the Thing,
Mm.
as my number one. After that, they fall into different areas. I didn't really put it in order,
Yeah,
but for
my number
me,
one hero and my number one villain are number ones, and I can tell you who they are.
oh, and I think my number one villain might be my number one villain too.
Yeah.
Okay,
Everybody else kind of falls into,
sure.
random
So
choice.
I mean, and we were trying to avoid doing teams because
Mhm.
then you're getting more, you're milking it in a way. But
Yeah.
is the Thing on your list?
The Thing is on my list of heroes, yeah.
Awesome.
And I think, the reason why is because growing up as a kid who had I never really felt attractive or like liked even. And I think the Thing spoke to me on
But
a level.
wait. Why would you feel that way now?
I don't now. I mean, now
Oh, come on.
I feel okay, like I mean, I go through my moments, but yeah, like I think, the Thing as a kid, dealing with those feelings and somebody that looks like a monster that made of rock, you're like, all right, things might not be that bad. Now I know that's
Yeah.
being simplistic and I know that's like, kind of taking the piss out of depression and stuff like that. But at the same time, as a kid, you don't really realize what you're dealing with. Um, and you're kind of looking for the easiest solution to your melancholy.
Well,
So,
and in a way, first of all, the Thing comes with Yancey Street. He comes with a blind girlfriend. He comes with the Fantastic Four and all the great stuff that comes with the Thing and Marvel 2-in-1. And but I do think that the way speaking to how you identified with the Thing, I've never really thought about how and or why I identify with the Thing. Clear, the obvious reasoning could be like, oh, I feel ugly, or I feel shunned,
right.
or you know, a misfit, an other, And but guess what? Kids, all kids, I don't care how pretty you are or popular you are, even those people feel like misfits. So I think everybody can relate to the Thing. And and the fact that he tries to put a positive spin on it, like Reed Richards is more concerned about the way he looks than I think Ben Grimm is.
Right.
Ben Grimm has somehow accepted it and made lemonade out of lemons. Although I'm sure he has his bad days,
Mhm.
obviously. But I do think that everybody can actually relate to the Thing, depending on their bad day or how they feel being in a room with where they feel like an other or not seen or appreciated or whatever the hell.
Did
I mean,
you
the fact that he walked around early on, a superhero saving people, wearing a big coat and a hat to cover himself up because he was otherwise considered a monster.
Mhm.
And I love Frankenstein
Mhm.
because even though, and I'm talking about the Frankenstein movie, not the book, right? The Mary Shelley book, but like the idea that a corpse has been reanimated, with different body parts, and actually he's just very sensitive. I mean, he might accidentally drown a girl, but he didn't try. He wasn't trying to kill anyone,
Right.
like, and I those kind of misunderstood, complicated quote monsters are my favorite characters to write and draw.
Did you from an earlier age, like when you first started reading Fantastic Four, were you ever aware of his Judaism? Because I wasn't. It seemed like something that I found out many years later.
Yeah, I didn't know that till later. And at the time, when I think it was Carl Kiesel wrote the issue that confirmed
So
that
yeah.
he was Jewish. I remember thinking, wait, why? Why are we? And I guess because some characters might be Catholic, Christian, this, Muslim, I don't know, whatever, fine, so he can be Jewish. But then it just totally made sense because Jack Kirby is Jewish. he's an analog of Jack Kirby,
Right.
and it's good to have Jewish characters, so and also then this was the most obvious one. He's a golem,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I
right?
the thing is, like, I find it funny that the only two characters who I know what their religion is, Ben Grimm and Daredevil. And
Right. Well, it
Daredevil's
also works in, well, it doesn't work as much into the thing, Ben Grimm's story,
right.
but definitely was used. I mean, he has a Catholic, Daniel's mom is a nun,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So, they used that and made a story out of it,
right.
So, just thought there was one more thing to say about the thing that might come back to me later.
Design wise, what I find interesting about the thing is he's usually only wearing trunks. So his costume isn't trunks. His costume is the little rock, and you drew him, so like you could definitely speak to this. The little rock patterns in his, skin and stuff. How do you,
Oh,
as an artist, how do
okay.
you approach that? Like, how did you?
So it's funny because you have to think about these things and go, well, how am I going to be semi-consistent or something?
Yeah.
So what I wanted to say that you now just reminded me is that I pitched a Thing miniseries with Evan Dorkin that got published that I drew. I'm not very proud of the way I drew it. It was the best of my ability at the time. And actually, in my version, before we brought on Evan, because I got stuck after the first issue of 4, brought in Evan, who knows the Marvel Universe like the back of his hand, and did a great job coming up with a Frightful Four story. My idea was that we weren't going to have Alicia in there. We were going to have another female that gets a crush on the Thing, right? And then later on, I think it was Evan that made her crazy and all this other stuff that happens. But I was like, well, what kind of a woman, besides a blind woman who's a sculptor, would fall in love with the Thing and why? Just based on visual alone. I went, oh, a landscape artist. So
Oh,
I made her a landscape artist, and we drew it in the first issue. This was my idea, was where she takes one look at the Thing and she sees the cracks in his skin, right?
mhm.
Which you're talking about. Well, how do you draw the Thing? She sees the cracks in his skin, and you close in on, you just see a whole bunch of array of just like cracks, orange, thing, hide, and we focus in and get acutely, closer and closer to the cracks. The cracks start to wide open, and then we see a vista of Egypt with the pyramids,
Hmm.
and we see the Thing standing in one of the pyramids like a god. And so what she saw was this beautiful, heroic, kind of godlike Egyptian figure
Mhm.
in her mind because she was so in love with his landscape.
Right.
So there's like this surreal moment that happens that I drew. And I did think about, well, what happens when he walks around? Is he just like you and me with very, very tough, rocky skin that has like little grooves in it? Or are there shifting platelets like Earth? Like
That,
when he moves
that
his
would be my
shoulder,
idea. Yeah.
yeah. Like when he moves his shoulder, is there like a boulder that's like unhinging and locking and like, but then I have to think about, well, what's his guts like? Are they made of rock too? Or is this like a coating that's covering up a human figure?
Are
So
you
I don't
asking?
know.
Because I think
I
the
am. I
answer,
am asking. I
I think
don't
the
know the
answer
answer
is
to
that
this.
it's a coating that's like like 5 or 6 layers over muscle and sinew and
So
stuff.
it's over our body. We have that thing on
Right.
top of us.
Right.
So in the next issue of COVID Cop, I have a plan that he's going to continue to evolve from COVID to something that's more rock
Mhm.
like the Thing, to then maybe veer into almost like a Sheen, like a Silver Surfer
Hmm.
by the third story. So he's always evolving. But the way I was imagining him is, did you see Game of Thrones?
I only watched the first episode, and I was like, okay, I get it.
Got it.
I just never
So
watched another one.
I hear you. There's a character, and I forget what season, that gets infected with something
Mhm.
that becomes a skin disease
Like
that looks a
leprosy.
lot like the Thing, or it's just
Wow.
like a lot of cracks and like it looks like very dry skin. you
Well,
know,
George Martin was a comic book fan, so who knows?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's such a great. So I was like, "Ooh, I'm going to steal that for COVID Cop."
Mhm.
Anyway,
But the thing that I always when I'm not an artist, anybody that's seen me draw can tell you that. But the thing that I always thought was like the most definitive um, kind of feature of the Thing was his eyebrow, like
Well,
that.
he didn't always have that. So obviously, when he was first mutated by the cosmic rays, he was more like a sludge, mud
Yeah.
golem, monster. And then he slowly evolved. And I think due to Kirby, he had more of this eyebrow thing happen
Mm.
that became even more pronounced, I think, once George Perez drew him.
And John Byrne too. Like I
And John
saw
Byrne,
a
and then John
picture.
Byrne kind of made it more like a cap, like
Yeah,
a baseball cap.
yeah,
And then I think that that's become more of the norm these days, is that's
yeah.
more like a baseball cap. I still like to draw the thing's eyebrow as a thing that kind of moves and can, kind of like when I took the fox's ears and I do that with the red hook and became it, it's more animated, or like Spider-Man's eyes,
That's funny you say that because this week I was telling an artist, they were like, I don't know what to do with Stray's ears. And I was like, Stray's ears are Spider-Man's eyes, like a dog. When a dog, listens, they go up. When they're angry, they go back, and like otherwise they're floppy, like just think of them like
Absolutely.
that, like so they're part of his animation kind of stuff.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that.
So do you want me to say my number one or do we want to go somewhere
Oh,
else?
your number one. Yeah, because mine was the thing.
Mine is Captain America.
All right. Okay. So just so you know, because we're doing this together,
Mhm.
I know I said I didn't have anything in order, but I happen to have written Steve Rogers, aka Captain America, as my second choice.
Yeah, I can't divorce Jack Kirby from Captain America. I also can't imagine comics without a Captain America. Um, I think, and you can say like it's funny. I was looking at characters that he created, and like he created the Red Skull, he created Bucky Barnes, and I think about the Red Skull, and I'm like, Red Skull doesn't resonate for me until Mark Waid starts writing Captain America. Bucky doesn't start resonating to me until I forget who did it. Um,
Wait, Bucky, we didn't have any Bucky stories. What we had was that Bucky died,
right.
and then Ed Brubaker wrote him into Captain America as the Winter Soldier, and then he
That's
became interesting.
Yeah, that's when I really recognized Bucky Barnes. I mean, and there's also like Roger Stern, flashback stories,
Sure.
where we learn about Bucky. But for the most part, like I don't think of Bucky as a Jack Kirby character, so to speak. I think of him more in terms of a Winter Soldier.
Well, it's funny because you said Red Skull, and to me, Red Skull, just the design alone was what was cool about him.
Ah,
But otherwise, he's just like a Nazi asshole. Like
yeah,
he wasn't
yeah.
that interesting to me as a villain, except for how cool he looked, you know?
And
Um,
like the other thing I liked about the initial Kirby design was that the shield is now canonically circle, but
right,
like that first shield with like the
right.
kind of like three-pointed thing, like I was for some reason I always thought that was cool. Like I
Uh,
always
Yeah,
no, I don't know why, but like and then like as silly as the wings are on the helmet, like it's still so iconic and so
yep,
you can look at it and you just go, you know exactly what's going on.
yep, yep. I I also loved. I mean, I never read the original, like where Captain America number one, where he's punching out
Mhm.
Hitler. I didn't read the Joe Simon, Jack Kirby Captain Americas, right?
Mhm.
So my Captain America, well, actually, my Captain America, when I started picking up comics, was Roger Stern, John Byrne, was James DeMatteis, Mike Zeck, and
Yeah.
Paul Neary, I think, drew as
Yes.
well. Uh, and then Mark Waid and everybody else later. But I will say, and this is also probably my Captain America, because I remember picking up the comic off the racks. There was an issue where Jack Kirby had returned to Marvel. He was writing and drawing Captain America, and plus a other bunch of comics like the Eternals, where he was also the editor, I believe, of his own comics.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
if you, I remember he also had editor credit because I think people were just like, just let Jack do what he wants to do.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, but there was an issue where Captain America is blind or has been blinded on the cover, and it might have been from Red Skull or somebody. I forget which one. And I remember thinking it was grotesque and bizarre, and I had to pick it up. kind of a thing. And that was in the 70s, late
Yeah,
70s.
Mad Bomb story.
Well, the Mad Bomb was his first story in his return to Captain America. But I have recently revisited all those Jack Kirby comics that he wrote and drew, and it
Mhm.
was Captain America and the Falcon.
Yes.
Okay, and I love them. I love those comics so much. I think he did maybe 20 issues worth, at that time. And, otherwise, he drew Captain America, obviously, in its initial, a Marvel run you know, of stories.
Mhm.
Or that is well, I mean, that's Stan Lee was the co-writer on those, right? I believe.
For what from Tales of Suspense?
In the tales of
Yeah.
whatever which one it was, where it was the two
Yes.
superhero two-man anthology, as it were.
Mhm.
I think it was Iron Man and Captain America were in those.
Right.
And then you know what, I'm actually trying to imagine right now, was there a Captain America #1 that wasn't the Joe Simon?
It's a good question. I think Tales of Suspense became Captain America, so you might be right.
The numbering kept going
Yeah, yeah, I think you're
when
right.
it became a solo book, and then Iron Man got a #1.
Yes, with that
I don't
famous
know if
cover.
Kirby did. I mean, Kirby, Captain America did.
I
Anyway,
think
Captain America, the thing that's great about the character is it's a complicated character, and he's dealing with the American flag and the idea of America and all the
and also
different
being a man out of time. Like you talk
man
about
at a time.
the current Chip Zdarsky just launched a Captain America series where Captain America reawakens, I believe, post 9/11. And so, you're still dealing with a man who was in World War II, but now wakes up much later. And I think when
Right.
Mark Miller did The Ultimate, he woke up post Gulf War,
Okay.
somewhere
Right.
along those lines. So, you have this shifting, timeline, but he always goes into the ice during World War II.
And then there was the John Cassaday drawn, and I'm forgetting who the writer was.
Brzezinski. No,
What?
no.
No, no, no.
I know exactly who it
It's
is.
with an R, I think.
I want to say it's Raybar or Rebar or something like that.
Something. But and he confronted 9/11 straight on,
Yeah, yeah.
like head on. So that was kind of nuts. Um, it's a character I would be afraid to write. Not afraid, but I don't know my take on Captain America just yet, but I'd be super sensitive, I think, about it.
John Nay Reber.
John A. Reaver, that's right.
I think
Um,
that's a good question. Do I have a take on Captain America as a writer? Um, I do. I'm kind of exploring it in this Stray Beast Within story. Could I have done it with a more patriotic character than Stray? Um, I think no, only because I think it makes more sense the way I'm telling the story, as opposed to being something that's overtly wrapped in a flag and instead being about a legacy that spans World War II. Uh,
well, all right. With that in mind, I guess I am semi-exploring a Captain America type thing when I have Fate Major, who's COVID cop, aka Lincoln Bio's ex-wife that he's trying to rekindle romance with in the second issue of COVID cop. But it's also in the first issue. She wears an American flag, a torn, ripped
yeah.
American flag as a cape.
Is there any part of Captain America? I mean, I know that we've talked about it and it's more OMAC than not, but is there any part of Captain America that you've written with AI Joe?
Uh, could I put Captain America in the same situation? Possibly in the second story. The first one's more of an erotic story.
Right.
The second one is he is fighting different levels of antagonists until he confronts a particular antagonist that is non-antagonistic at all.
Hmm.
But in a weird way is the one that we fight over the most, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, but I wouldn't have written that as a Captain America story. I mean, I think Captain America is ripped from the headlines. So you literally, as much as you might want to play with a man out of time,
Yeah.
if he's been hanging out, for more than a year, in current modern times, he probably has a grasp for what's happening, obviously.
Which
And
was
then
one of the
you
things
have
that
the
I liked
headlines.
about Chris Evans in Winter Soldier, where he's like, internet's so helpful. Like,
Yeah,
like it's like he's
yeah,
integrated. He's got it, like he's all right
yeah.
now.
Although it's funny when the Falcon character hands him a list of this is what we'll catch you up on,
Yeah.
you know. And then he wrote down Marvin Gaye's Trouble Man.
Mhm.
It's like that's not the album.
What's the album? It's what's going
It,
on.
it's what's going on.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they did Trouble Man, except maybe it sounds cooler. But
Everything you
it's
missed in one album. Yeah.
I but what's going on is if you're gonna
Oh,
do
you're
it,
right.
that's
No,
the Marvin
absolutely.
Gaye album. Anyway, so
All right. Who's your next one? And I'm
so
guessing
I
Captain
have
America was
you
there.
mentioned OMAC. OMAC's up there. Now
Mac is
OMAC
on mine as well.
is great. OMAC is everything and the kitchen sink thrown against the wall. That's a fun character. It started off as apparently Jack Kirby wanted to pitch it as, well, what would Captain America be like in the future? And we're talking about the future. And I guess he did that at Marvel to Stan Lee, and Stan was like, no, published or whatever it was. I don't know what the conversation was, but it was rejected. So he held on to that idea, turned it into a character named Omek, aka One Man Army Corps. Buddy Blank is just like some nobody, twerp kid who basically is, what do you call it? Transformed. There was a great line in the comic, which I'm not going to get right, but is basically transformed into this kind of like Mohawk kind of, a busty, warrior who, I mean, this is before the internet, but literally has weapons like Wi-Fi to his body or to him to make him powerful. There's this brother eye in the sky that basically sends like all kinds of armament into him to become this, explosive warrior that's basically being driven by somebody with no personality whatsoever,
Mhm.
actually. You know, he doesn't get angry. He doesn't. Buddy Blank literally is the name Blank. He's nobody. And also, that went for about 8 or 9 issues, and he kind of gave up on it. I don't know if the series was selling well or not. And it ends with an explosion, like the stupidest way. When you have nothing to, when you don't know where to go, you just the world blows up type of thing, And it's absurd that he gave up like that. But they have used the character since, and then it
Oh,
also inspired my character Warcry in the Red Hook series that I did.
yeah. I have a character named Solo, which is very similar. Uh, but the thing, I always knew about the Captain America, pitch that it was supposed to be Captain America in the future. And it didn't really dawn on me until I was just listening to you, and it's like, wait, it's also part of his Thor, where it's just an average doctor, who's a cripple, and he strikes a cane and becomes Thor.
Well,
This,
or Bruce Banner is like a nebbishy,
yeah,
nerdy, who becomes this, a Jekyll and Hyde,
yeah, and
like
then a satellite in the sky beams a light down to him, and he becomes
right.
so like
I mean, I totally stole those ideas for Warcry.
yeah.
Warcry is a combination of two characters because I also was doing a little having fun with like Firestorm,
Hmm.
which is two characters turned into one hero, and Omac and a whole bunch of characters. I had fun with that, and I mean, how many issues can you really get out of an Omac? I don't know, and I know it's John Byrne, and I bought it when it came out, and I don't remember whatsoever what the story was, but John Byrne did a 4 issue miniseries of
Hmm.
OMAC.
It was a
OMAC has
prestige
evolved
format,
and
I think.
changed.
I think it was
It
a
was
prestige
prestige. I
format.
think it was
Right?
black and white, I
Yeah,
believe, too.
I know the
Um,
covers were. I'm not sure about the interiors.
yeah, maybe the interior. And then they've done stuff with OMAC, but it's not like those first 8 or 9 issues, whatever it was that he did.
It kind of makes you want to go back in time and smack everybody in the face that didn't give it a chance, because you really do want to see what comes next.
I mean,
And
what? Oh, I'll tell you what was coming next because I've seen it.
oh,
So there's always the caption box of what's coming next.
yeah.
So he did do 8 issues. He teased the ninth issue, and then they covered it up for the rest of for the collections and everything else.
Mhm.
Do you know what the title of the ninth issue was?
What's that?
The Walking Dead. And what I don't think it was going to be zombies or
No, no,
anything.
but the explosion, could be, something
Oh,
cool,
maybe it was. Who knows?
Maybe it wasn't a true explosion. Maybe it was an explosion that turned people into zombie
I
like.
mean, or something, and I would love to have seen that. I would
Like, you know
love
what I
to have
mean?
seen.
Like, it's kind of like, how do you? I don't know if it's like tastes. Obviously, tastes have changed, but like, how do you? No, I'm not. This is a rhetorical question. How do you reconcile the idea of not being hip enough to think forwardly? You know what I mean? Like,
You mean like the response to that, or the fact that
yeah, like
sales
it's
weren't
like, how
happening?
cool is this?
But I also see it as I totally get what you mean because you're always like, oh, what would Prince's next album be if he didn't die or
Right,
something, right?
right.
Like, but I also see it as such a gem. It's a perfect piece of 8 issues of comics, right? Where
Mhm.
you get to enjoy it, and there's so much going on in every issue that you could read it over and over again and get something brand new, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm gonna throw a curveball at you.
All
This is
right.
a Kirby creation that is not spectacular whatsoever, but is one of the most key characters of the Marvel universe that I think we forget that Kirby created. His name is Rick Jones. Rick Jones, for to put it mildly, was the sidekick of the Hulk, Captain America, and Captain Marvel, and possibly other ones. He was also the I wouldn't say mascot of the Avengers, but he was like kind of like the teen liaison or something.
Right.
I think Rick Jones is one of. We talked about it. I think maybe not on this podcast, but on the indie. Oh
Well,
boy.
the heroes versus,
Oh yeah.
I think so.
And like I think Rick Jones is just one of those characters that has so much potential to be bigger than what he actually is because he knows all the heroes. The
Hey, you know what? You know what the miniseries I would write? I mean, I'll give it to you because I wouldn't want to write it. I think you could write it. The thesis behind it would be I know where the bodies are buried. Rick
well,
Jones.
yeah, there's a
He knows all these heroes and their thing, man. He knows their thing, I'll bet.
yeah, and
He knows what time it is.
there's an in-universe autobiography that he's written. Brian Michael Bendis has written part of it in his Alias series, and
Right.
it's like excerpts and stuff while Jessica's doing a case. And I would pay Brian Bendis to finish that book, to actually write the novel. And I
Right.
think you would then go, why don't you write it? And I'm like, I'm not going to follow in Brian Michael Bendis' shoes in that respect. Like, I want to read his story, like,
Well, you also aesthetically know when you say I want that person to direct or act or write
yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever, or do the music for or cinematography. Aesthetically, you're talking about like, and it's funny because I'm sure that a lot of those writers think, oh, I should write this like Michael Moorcock or Denny O'Neil or the Coen brothers, and then I'm going to
Mhm.
do and then be inspired by that.
Yeah.
So the thing is with you is you have so many different ideas of your own. I just want more of them to be drawn and coming out right now.
Oh my
Where
God.
are they?
Like, somebody just give me $1 billion and I can
I know,
create a
I know.
publishing concern and just,
Yep.
I can write for free. It's just I can't, like I can't expect anyone to draw for free.
I get it. I get
But
it.
Rick Jones, I absolutely adore the character. With my affinity for sidekicks like Robin, Bucky, um, it's probably not a secret that I would, have Rick Jones so highly
Oh,
esteemed,
totally.
and
Totally.
especially in a list of Kirby characters, I couldn't skip talking about him.
Wait, he's in your top 10 of.
He's in my top 10.
All right, so I'll give you another one.
Yeah,
Mine would be well, we already talked about him briefly, but Mr. Miracle's up there, and I have in parentheses I wrote Big Barda because I feel like Mr. Miracle comes with Big Barda, but
yeah.
of course we're just doing solos. I love the I love Mr. Miracle's design. I love that he is always getting into a pickle and having to get out of it.
Mhm.
I like that he's part of this like insane pact between two warring worlds. He's a fun character. He's got a great girlfriend, now wife. Um, and he's had great creators work on him, post Kirby. But if you just even isolate the Kirby issues, those are a lot of fun, man.
Do you think the fact that the character has lent itself to other interpretations by other creators speaks to the either longevity or the power, the strength of the character.
They all do. All these characters we're talking about is part of the strength is the fact that they have what do you call it? Not staying power, but that there's proof in the pudding, as it were.
Yeah.
That yeah, they can be handed off. I mean, I don't know. Do you feel like you've written and created characters that someone else could take over and do their thing on it?
I mean, selfishly, I'd like to say no, but I would love to see like even you write a Stray story. You know what I mean? As
Right,
close as I
and
am
that
to
would
it,
be right, and I'd have to look at it, see what is Stray to me, and yet serve Stray's
I'm giggling
legacy.
because my wife is right here to the side. She went, oh.
Wait, why?
She seems insulted that anybody else would write
Oh,
stuff.
that anybody else would. But I do think that that's the all right. So what an editor is looking for is two things. If they really like a creator,
Mhm.
then they want your best foot forward,
Right.
but they also want a character that if you bail or die and you've signed over a deal that someone else can write and draw it, it better have legs.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
the idea of having a character that has legs,
right.
you know?
And I think, I mean, and like going back to Mr. Miracle and going to looking at all the other creators that have worked on him, like it's, I remember there was a point where I was trying to pitch a Moon Knight miniseries to Marvel. He hadn't been seen in a while. This was right before the Bendis and I can see David Finch had done Moon Knight. Oh no, it was Bendis and Michael Gaydos, I think.
That sounds
I forget.
more.
I
Oh
forget.
no, but I do remember maybe Finch did covers. Anyway,
Maybe. So anyway, it was right before that, and they were like, "Can't pitch Moon Knight." I'm like, and I was like, I was kind of close with everybody there. I was like, "Why is Moon Knight? Why can't I pitch Moon Knight? Nobody's doing it." And he's like, We're reserving Moon Knight for top talent." Now that's not saying, that's not an insult to me. I get it. Like you're, but I didn't understand what I didn't understand was Moon Knight really like this
I
is.
know, I know,
Like I
right,
get Captain America, I get Daredevil, but Moon Knight really?
right, I
and
know,
and I feel like with Mr. Miracle is to me is in the same kind of boat. Like you don't
right,
think of him as a high echelon type of, you know, in the pantheon of superheroes, you don't think of him up there, but
right.
and especially the way he's being written currently by Ram V and Evan Cagle in the New Gods miniseries, he's so like integral. Like he's got so many different relationships, like with the Justice League, with the New Gods and everything. And like you can make him a pivotal character. You know what
Sure.
I mean? And I think
You're talking about Mr. Miracle now. You just
yes,
transitioned back to Mr.
yes.
So you know that Simonson in the last issue of his Orion series
Mhm.
reveals, Darkseid's been looking for the anti-life equation.
I know
The
I know what
anti-life
it's the Ben thing.
equation is Mr. Miracle,
Yeah.
which I actually don't totally understand what the hell that means, but okay.
I think you
Yeah.
have to have like a Walt and like a John Byrne. I think they think in different terms, man. I don't know. I don't know
Yeah,
how
but what does it mean? Like I am, or I hold it, or I have the power to wield
you
the
know
anti-life means no life, right?
right.
It
Well,
means
it means a bunch of things like sorrow plus desperation plus all like the equation is like all the if you actually write it out, and
right,
it could just mean like the absence of life is the absence of free will or the absence of choice. That's how I think Morrison wrote it when he did Final
interesting.
Crisis. um but it's dependent on who is the
Who's interpreting the
right who
so
the
again,
caretaker.
legs. We're talking about characters that have certain legs, that have things surrounded by them that have legs. Like,
Mhm.
you know, I I'm kind of teaching myself my own. I'm having a eureka moment where I'm like, why didn't I create characters that weren't so unique to me?
Hmm, that's
Does that
interesting.
make sense?
Yeah, yeah, I totally get that. Um, yeah, yeah, it's weird because you can say that Stray isn't unique at all, like because he's basically my version of Nightwing. But I think what makes a character unique, especially creator-owned characters, are the creators that are involved. Like what am I bringing to? Like I said, I can see you or Charlie or Caleb Monroe, good friend of mine.
Hmm.
I can see
Hmm.
any of you guys writing Stray just because, of how close we are. And I think
Right,
that's a different story, though. It's not like I would go, let me get a freelance writer to do it that I've never met, that I've never talked to, that might be a bit of a fan or something like that. Let me get
right,
him or her to write this. I think that's a
right.
different story because the proximity of the creators involved and like the intimacy that we share, you know, I think that makes for a better interpretation of my character, my IP, than not. If that
And
makes
especially if you're doing something that is a little bit of like, let's say you're doing your Nightwing. Well, then we're seeing your Nightwing,
right.
like, and then, but I mean, Dave Kelly, who's a writer and he's one of the editors of Heavy Metal now, asked to borrow the Red Hook in a Savage Dragon story he wrote, and a one shot he did with his Tales of the Night Watchmen, and like all I did with him was I might have come up with some story ideas a little bit based on his story idea and
Mm,
gave some notes. But what it really came down to is, would the Red Hook do that? Yeah. Would he say that? Sure. Oh, maybe tweak this word
yeah.
or a sentence,
Yeah.
because ultimately, in the service of story, you try to figure out if you're going to have three characters. Well, what are the three characters doing to make this a team effort?
I used to be very not defensive, but I used to just be like, no, nobody can write this character, and I've loosened it up a lot recently. Eric Bennett wrote, I think, a really good Stray Steel Wolf one shot. Where the two characters meet, and like they're not. He was nice enough to let me, do dialogue passes and like be a de facto editor, and like you got most of it. Like just like the thing is with the artist, we have to understand. Stray won't smile; he'll smirk. It's like
Mm,
it's a character thing. Like it's like
right.
you won't see his teeth, but you'll see him like, So
Sure.
it's there are little things that I can impart to a writer
Right.
artist. That if they're borrowing Stray, I can go, yeah, do this. Make sure
Right.
it's like that.
Right. All right. In an effort to get this going, because it's gonna go another hour if we don't go quicker.
Okay.
Um, let's just see if because I do want to get to villains.
Okay.
Um, I weirdly enough, I really love, and I assume he created the Falcon. Did he co-create the Falcon?
I I don't know. I feel like
It's
he did.
possible he didn't. So I
Hmm.
might have to take him off my list.
I'm gonna look that up. I don't think he did. I'm gonna throw out another name for you though, um, and see like what your feeling is on this. Black Bolt, aka Blackagar Boltagon from the Inhumans.
So I actually had him on my top 10, and then I knocked him off when I realized Thor was not on my list because I was
Ah,
mistaken. So Black Bolt's definitely on my list, but I will say this. He's got one of the coolest designs. He's got one of the greatest handicaps and greatest, scariest powers.
yeah.
And that's about it.
For the
Like
record,
everybody else is doing things, he's like a guy sitting on a throne half the time. And
yeah.
when you're just like, oh, is he gonna whisper? I hope he doesn't whisper because I'm gonna die. Like, so
Like
there's
it,
this weird threat at all times, but then he doesn't do it because he's not gonna do it. Every once in a while he might have, I think, blown off a mountaintop by like sneezing or something,
I like
like
I like when people are like people underestimate him and underestimate his wife Medusa, also created by Jack Kirby in Frightful Four. Um, Medusa's like speaking for him, and they're like, "Who's this bitch?" Like, yeah,
yeah.
I mean, she can't talk for you. You say something, like, and he's just
That's right.
like or whatever.
So, I mean, he is like a thumbs up, thumbs down kind of guy.
Right?
And again, fantastic, simple design,
Yeah.
wonderful, kind of ominous threat at all times. And then I don't know what I would, what? I'd like to see Tom King do 12 issues of Black Bolt,
That's a good choice. That is a
right?
very good choice. Like I would like like a Tom King and like Mitch would be great. Even
Which
an
would be
Evan
great.
Shaner. Like an Evan
Yeah.
Shaner and Tom King on a Black Bolt series would be great.
Yeah, totally.
But
Totally.
like you look at some of the stuff that's been done with like Annihilation and some of the cosmic stuff that Marvel has done in the past, let's say 20 years, and some of it's good. Like I think the thing about Black Bolt that I like the most is that he's not used much. So when he shows up, it's like a powerful like you were saying, like it,
Right,
and because he's silent, that presence is even more powerful.
right.
So I think that's one of the things. And again, design, just
Yeah.
tuning fork on his head is such a smart. If I could like just pick his brain, a tuning fork, which you use to tune instruments, which makes boom,
Yep.
and
Yep.
it's like, how do you how do you put this on somebody's
Ah,
head? It's so
I know.
ridiculous, but it's beautiful. Like it's
Yeah.
so simple and so and then I love the scalloped wings and
Yep.
like just the zigzag lines and like just again, and that's a Kirby thing too. It's like again, like I said, he does more with one line than most people do with seven.
Well, you're also reminding me. I would have loved to have put Namor Submariner on the list, but you can't. And he did such great stuff with Namor.
No, that was a Bill Everett character.
Right.
Falcon, for the record, for anybody listening, Stan Lee and Gene Colan created Sam Wilson
Gene
the Falcon.
Cohen. That's what I. So that means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That means I can put Black Bolt back on.
There you go.
But I will say, in terms of, I hate to make it sound like this, but Black Panther. Come on,
That's on my list.
come on.
And not only Black Panther, but he designed Wakanda.
I mean, come on.
I mean, that's a hard enough thing to do to create a character. Like he wanted to, he actually had the desire to create a black character because he felt black people wanted to be represented. That's incredible altogether, you know. But then to create a, and this is how they like he described. I got to actually look this up because this quote is worth quoting. Um, he had said something to the effect of, how did he put it? Let me find. Go ahead and vamp.
Well, I was going to say what you're kind of alluding to, I believe, is not only did he didn't do like the normal, oh, let's take a black kid from the ghetto in the streets. He created a king that Tony Stark with the technology that Tony Stark can't even totally understand.
Mhm.
Right? It's so far advanced. Uh, I what an incredible creation.
Here's the
What
quote. This is the quote from Jack Kirby. This is paraphrased, but it's more or less, from the king's mouth. We created the Black Panther because we wanted to show that not all superheroes have to be white. Dot dot dot. And Wakanda became a nation that was never conquered. Why? Like in 1967, 68, whenever he came out. How
right,
how would you even think that?
right,
In the climate of America at the time, and to think that far ahead in advance, like that's
yeah,
amazing.
it
And
is
then like,
amazing.
and then just like again, like the design of the city of the
Right,
nation, I should say.
right,
And then, you add Black Panther and you add all that stuff. And it's not even, surprising that the Black Panther movie, which stood apart from the Avengers and all the other stuff that was going on, was such a strong entry into
yep,
that world. I
yep.
I I absolutely Black Panther, T'Challa, the lineage, the everything. I think is just one of the best characters in comics.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. My next one, and we can probably keep this simple because I'm guessing you'll have this character on your list.
Okay,
But even if this character only showed up for the 3 issues it debuted in, and we never saw him again, even if John Buscema and Stan Lee didn't write a pretty great 17 issues, or was it 18?
I I know what you're talking about.
Silver Surfer.
Yeah, he's not on my list. Um,
Oh,
like
he's not even an honorable mention.
yeah, that's crazy. I mean, the thing is, I always it's weird for me.
Tragic story. Tragic.
Yes, but I feel like no one, not even in his origin, like in his first. I don't think anything touches that first Galactus story. Do you know what I mean? Like when he shows up, and
Right.
even subsequent issues where he shows up, even when you look at the Mobius Stan Lee story,
Right.
terrible. I don't even think that stuff
Stan
touches.
Lee and Jack Kirby's last collaboration
Yeah,
was a Silver Surfer graphic novel.
yeah,
But also, like I said, I know this isn't Kirby, and I do stand on just even the 3 issues. And he did come to fight the FF during Kirby's FF run about 4 or 5 more times. Doctor Doom, I think, controlled him at some point. Um, but and yes, like I said, we had that fleshed out version of a very super sensitive, Silver Surfer, Stanley and John Buscema. But I don't know, man. Design, the character's little journey that he just threw in there, according to even Stan Lee's account, like they were going to maybe have the Fantastic Four fight a god or God, by the 50th issue, and then it was like a world devourer who had a herald
Mhm.
that would search planets for this guy, and then had a whole story. Like, come on.
I think the as much as I love the Silver Surfer and as much as they uh, influenced our creation, the Purple Heart with Ricardo,
Yep.
like almost to a T, without a surfboard. Um, I always find that design to be so simple and maybe too simple. Like it's probably an artist's dream to draw something that's so minimal.
But it's really hard because of the shine stuff,
Hmm,
unless you're coloring it. But to figure out, I have never been able to crack the Silver Surfer. I haven't
really
tried that hard, but I have not cracked him at all.
interesting. I
So,
might, just based on the actual character, though, you might be right. I might have to bump my number 10 here and put Silver Surfer there. My number 10 was Fighting American,
yeah, you
which,
can bump him. You can bump him.
I mean, it's a
You
Joe
got Captain
Simon.
America on there. I
Yeah,
mean, there's
that's true.
Shield, there's Fighting
Fighting
American.
American's a totally different story, though, because Fighting American fights commies, which
Right.
is, and it's almost a parody, like of Captain America. Not
Right.
necessarily. I think, Joe Simon would, like maybe argue that with me and like maybe,
Sure.
like give me a little bit of rope, to hang myself.
Right. Right.
But he's not entirely a Captain America. Like I think Lancelot Strong, Sergeant Strong and Archie might be a more accurate version of Captain America, like in other.
No, no, the Shield
Yeah,
originally,
yeah,
which came out 4 months before Captain America
right. But I think
debuted.
Fighting American is a little bit more different or different enough that you can look at it as a different story.
But
But
not in comparison to a Silver
Silver
Surfer.
Surfer, yeah,
Sorry.
you're right.
All right, so I had on there Ben Boxer is actually on my top 10. I
Mhm.
don't really know why, because I know this is heresy, but I have not read Commandy yet. But I have read select issues of Commandy.
Right.
And in fact, one of my favorite Kirby comics of all time is Commandy number 29, which, if you recall, is where they find the Superman outfit.
Yes.
And it's about the legend of this Superman.
Right. Right.
Okay. But Ben Boxer is a great character because he's a guy who looks really cool already with like this insignia that looks like a heartbeat that's like a sperm or something. Like it's this
You think it's a
weird,
heartbeat? It's a
yeah,
sperm.
it's a sperm. And he, when he punches his chest, which I also stole
Mhm.
somewhat for the Red Hook, he becomes like Colossus. He becomes this metal protected man, like a tin man, to deal with the radiation and elements of the world in this post-apocalyptic Commandy story. And I don't know. I need to read the series so I can find out what his personality is like. I don't know if he's a jerk, if he's cool or what. But just the visual alone and the name Ben Boxer,
Yeah.
come on.
Uh, I have Metron on my list that we haven't mentioned.
Is he the guy in the seat in the
Yes.
chair?
Yeah, the
So
Mobius chair.
why him?
Again, design, like a design over almost everything. Like it's such a cool look. Like it's just like this black or dark blue, kind of cowl one piece with like this weird looking circuitry almost on his chest. He's the god of knowledge. He sits in a chair that takes him and like he absorbs the knowledge of the universe through the chair, the Mobius chair. I
Mm,
think he's just such a fascinating character. And like
mm,
I love when writers write him as not purely good, not purely evil, but somewhere on both sides of the fence.
mm,
Because I don't think
mm,
like, and I know I have him on my hero list, but I
right,
find him, so compelling when his only purpose and the only thing he seeks is knowledge. So
right.
it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. It's just, are we learning? Like,
Well, it's funny. It's funny because he's also part of the Source. I'm correct in the New Gods, but like I did not. I don't know if you did. I did not pick one X-Men.
I picked the team, the first five members,
Right.
Colossus, Cyclops, Beast, Angel, Iceman, Marvel Girl, because I think, and this was one of the things I
Well,
would try.
that's what that would be that would have to be the Kirby because he didn't
Yeah,
do the other characters. He didn't create the
well,
other
no, he
characters.
didn't. But the thing is, like I can't pick one favorite out of the five because
Right.
of how they're written in the book. Like at first, they are so like you can't have one without the other. It's
Right.
kind of like how we did the Challenges of the Unknown. Like
Right.
you can pick one, but they complement each other so well. You can't really
Hmm.
take one away from it. Maybe you could say Cyclops because he spans
Right.
decades and like
Right.
change. He's like the only thing he changes is his costume really. His
Right.
focus is always the same and everything. But I think of the five, the original five from X-Men #1, I think they're one of design like that blue and yellow is so cool, and like
Hmm. And
the
that chair, that Mobius chair, whatever the hell he's sitting on.
and but the other thing too is that like you think about the Thing, and he changed, and then you had Iceman who looked like a snowman
Right.
changed
Right.
into solid like, and I think
Yeah.
that
Yeah. No,
actually happened.
he has good evolutions of characters. I
Yeah.
think we're up to number 10 on
Yep.
heroes.
Hmm.
And so I believe mine. Oh, so I threw in Thor, right? We talked about Thor. So I thought about it and I was like, and totally forgot about him for some reason. And then I realized he has to be on here, even though he's an obvious creation in some ways. But I also loved him for a very specific reason, which I'll get to in a minute. The Incredible Hulk,
Mm.
Bruce Banner. Now, what was great about the Hulk is clearly the dichotomy between puny human and something, the madder it gets, the stronger it gets, and having that kind of terrifying power where you don't even remember when you're the Hulk and vice versa. And I was looking at a bunch of the Fantastic Four Jack Kirby comics,
Mm.
and whenever the Avengers showed up, I was like, what were they fighting about? Oh, Hulk,
Yeah.
their fucking fucked up friend, the Hulk, that they're always trying to save his ass or help him get out of a pickle because he's the Hulk.
Yeah.
Not Peter David Smart Hulk or who was it? Who wrote? Was it Larry Hama, Gangster Hulk or something like in Wolverine or something
Yeah, and Madripoor, yeah, like but
or
I think
whatever?
that was Peter
Like,
David as well.
oh, was it?
Yeah,
Okay,
that
all
was
I'm
an
saying
extension.
is this is like a guy who becomes it's Jekyll and Hyde, and it's terrifying. And imagine if that was you. It's like, and it has been me in college. If I got way too drunk on Herrador tequila, I don't remember the next day what happened, and people would look at me like, "Yo, Dean, the hell." And like it was just weird. Like, so we can all relate to it in some way, but I also love the idea that why are the Avengers in the FO? Because they're fighting over the Hulk. And then the Thing, you always want the Thing to fight the Hulk. And the Hulk is actually much more interesting than just a brute, this giant brute. There's
Mm.
a lot going on.
Yeah.
And I feel like, yeah, Kirby, what, drew the first 6 issues or something? But then
Yeah.
he did use him a lot. He did use the Hulk in a way that I would use the Hulk.
Didn't the Hulk show up in Tales to Astonish as well? Like,
Yeah, he was one of the two man.
okay,
That's
and
right.
then he
There's a bunch of
became.
those two.
So I think this
I
is.
believe that Steve Ditko was inking Kirby on those Hulks or a couple of them, and then Ditko took over and then that was like 6 issues or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then he went into that two man. So what's your 10th?
My last one, I'm actually swapping out because I've convinced myself Big Barda definitely belongs in the top 10. It
Oh,
was
great.
The Guardian, which was another Simon and Kirby creation from the 40s.
Oh, the guy with the
Yellow shield, yellow
yeah, I drew him in a Wildcat story.
with Neil. Yeah.
Neil Collide. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I like the Guardian. I always have. Like
That's awesome.
I was introduced to the Guardian in an All-Star Squadron story written by Roy
Right.
Thomas and drawn by Jerry Ordway.
Jerry Irving.
Possibly my first All-Star, my first DC comic ever purchased on Staten Island.
So I'm surprised we never got Professor X in there because he's in your accounting of Metron,
Mhm.
there's some similar design and ideas,
Yeah,
happening with Professor X from the X-Men. But a couple honorable mentions I was going to say would be like Machine Man,
absolutely.
Devil Dinosaur. I really like the design of Cyclops' powers from the
Mm.
X-Men, And then I threw in Captain Victory just as a little like thanks for coming up with one more hero before
Yeah.
he passed away,
Yeah.
basically. So in terms of villains, I think you and I are gonna have the same number one villain,
Yes. It's one, two, three. Doctor.
Doctor Doom.
Yes.
Okay, I mean for very obvious
Oh
reasons.
my goodness. Like I I found myself the other day um scrolling through my news feed on my phone. Not like Facebook, but like my actual news, that Google tailors to me, right? So I'm scrolling through my news and there's at least three Doctor Doom news stories that are popping up. One of them about Robert Downey. The other one is about a re-release of an action figure. The other one is Mondo's got a new like vinyl, and it's just like I must really like Doctor Doom. That I just like. I'm always talking. I love Doctor Doom, and
Yeah, he's Victor Von Doom, who was I think was either roommates or classmates with Reed Richards.
he was he. I
Uh,
think he went to college with both Reed and Ben,
and
but he
Ben,
might have been probably closer to Reed in that respect because they were both science majors.
right. And then basically, Reed was like checking out what he was working on, which was basically a way to be able to talk to his dead mother, trying to get back to the afterlife, and using kind of, science and sorcery. And then Reed was like, if you just did this one little calculation, you might get a little. And then he's like, no, I know what I'm doing. I'm smarter than his ego got in the way. And it was this explosion that, according to Kirby, and I like Kirby's version, is that he had such vanity that he had a little cut under his eye. And he found that to be so hideous that he built this Doctor Doom outfit in mask. Now, I don't know if Kirby also thought that, and I think John Byrne did this, that maybe he had the little cut, but when he made the mask, it burned his
Right.
face. And I don't know if Kirby would have done that. I think that's what Byrne did, John Byrne.
Mhm.
But and then he lords over Latveria. This, I don't know if he created the town or if he took it over. I don't remember that part of the story.
Mhm.
And he's like a king of his own domain because of his ego.
You know, it's
You
funny,
know.
Latveria, now that I'm thinking about it, one of the very few fictional cities, fictional places in Marvel. Most of Marvel is based on the real world. DC
Oh,
is the ones
right,
that's got mostly fictional cities. So that's very
right.
interesting. Like
Well, no, but if you think about it, if he did create it, it would be a made up
yes,
space.
yes, yes.
So if he created it, now if he took it over, that's one thing. But if he created it, then that, yeah, it doesn't exist necessarily. So, or we just haven't located on the map. And then I don't know, just the rivalry. Uh, One of the best looking characters. It's so medieval looking. There was something you were saying before about how we were talking about color designs of Mr. Miracle and Sandman. Um, like the reason why Spider-Man has so many green villains is because it looks good on the page
Right,
next to his red and blue
right.
costume.
Mhm.
So he had Dr. Octopus, the Lizard, the
Goblin.
Vulture, Scorpion, the Green Goblin. They're all green,
Yeah, I never thought of that.
So that was part of the reasoning of in terms of just cut like a colors to be like, well, I got to make them green, like or purple. You're not going to do another red and blue character,
Like a complementary color.
Yeah. And so I think about that with the FF because they were blue, they had more leeway to have different colored characters,
Mhm.
villains, antagonists, and stuff. So
Yeah, the thing I think that makes Doom so like the reason why he's so resonant, so lasting, is because like if he could only just get over himself, he would be the hero he thinks he is.
well, and
And I
yes,
prefer him to be like a straight up, you know, D-bag villain. You know what I mean? Like I don't really care if he's like the hero of his own story or, he's heroic in his country but not in America. That I prefer him as a straight up, black and white villain to, like to Reed Richards. But like I do
right,
love that flaw of
right.
if only you got over your ego, man, like you'd
But
be the
that's true for so many characters. Like it's true for so many
it's like what we
characters.
saw in Superman in the Superman movie.
Exactly. Exactly. If you could just get over yourself. So we're gonna go through these a little quicker.
Mhm.
I put this character down because he is so significantly a great villain. Although the third well, he would have been lower on my list, but he just happened to be higher because I just popped him in later. But I mean,
Yep,
Magneto
that's my number
has to
two.
be there for obvious reasons as well. You know, like
Mhm.
he is the uh, the tortured um, Jewish response to Nazis,
Yeah,
and the he was in the Holocaust. You know, he was
the
there
concentration camp. Yeah,
in the concentration camps. Like now, if you tried to do it today, he probably wasn't. I mean, how many people have survived? They're like 116 years old now or something, right? Like
there's still
anybody,
survivors though. Like
there's
there's
still some
survivors.
survivors.
So I mean,
So
like you see every now and again, you'll see a news story about this 102-year-old survivor from or they were like literally a child in the
oh,
Holocaust.
my dad's first girlfriend, Ria Benacasa, her mother was in the concentration camps,
Wow,
and I think lived to be about 100. I want to say 116. It could be a little bit younger than that. Who died this year
wow.
and was in all the papers and on the TV. And she had done some interviews and stuff. And so, yeah, no, I there are, but like Magneto villain. I mean, I guess he just you can slow his age down. Maybe his metallic, his magnetism can make him somewhat young. I don't know.
Well,
Make something up.
you know what you know what's very interesting. You know, like I know this isn't a real thing, could be, but it's so interesting to see how many of the survivors lived past what is usually typical age expectancy.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And it's almost like they were making up for the time that they lost.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So that's the secret of Magneto. Like he lost so much time,
right,
just making up for it. But
right, right,
I
right.
think what I don't know that this was inherent in the creation of the characters, but maybe something that came out many years after they were created. But the idea of the Malcolm X and Martin Luther King of the Marvel universe being two mutants fighting for, and the allegory of like,
That's Claremont. That's Claremont and
yeah,
Byrne, I think,
I would agree, but
and
like
maybe
I think,
even Len Wein in there. You know, like I don't think it's funny because like that's all retroactive. I think I don't think that's necessarily what Stan Lee was doing. You know,
but I
or
think when you read some of those
Jack Kirby.
earlier Brotherhood of Evil Mutants stories, that Kirby and Lee drew, and Kirby and Lee told. I think some of that's there. It's just not explicit, until
Mhm.
Claremont and maybe even Len Wein, come and do the
Right.
second generation. Um,
How
I
we like in Dark Side.
I have him on my list, but he's not the next character I have on my list.
Okay,
I've always had a problem with Darkseid's design.
really?
I I'm like, he's just a guy in a skirt. Like, but
And he puts his arms behind his back,
yeah, like to stick his
which
chest
is
out.
terrifying. Like wait, he just puts his like for me, he was always like the Orson Welles. If Orson Welles was a supervillain, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
like
The thing about Darkseid, like I love his like the skin, how it's like cracked rock, not crack rock, not like
no, no,
crack rock,
nope.
cracked rock. Um, and I love the Omega beams. I think that's one of the most terrifying superpowers of, like, they're so unpredictable. They can do
Yep,
whatever he wants.
yep.
That's not fair. But yeah, I love Darkseid, but the character I put before him on my list, and this list is funny because like I didn't plan it to be in any order, but the first four are in order.
Okay.
Like it was so quick that I could.
Yeah, I don't really have an order except Doctor Doom.
So before Darkseid, I had Galactus.
I was gonna say, of course. I mean, that's we don't even have to get into Galactus.
No,
Galactus is another weirdly tortured character. You know, is he even tortured anymore? Is he part of nature?
is he
You
even a
know,
villain when you think
yeah, is
about
he
it?
even a villain? He's just one of the best designed villains of all time, and that's because Jack Kirby was into Incas and National Geographic
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Africa, and he just kept, borrowing design ideas and then, amalgamating them into these cool characters sometimes,
Yeah,
So
it's funny. There are times when I'm like, I'm trying to come up with a design for a character, and I'm talking to, say, a Lee Gaston or a Matt Major, and I'm like, it should be like an Aztec death mask. And they're like, what's that? And I'm like,
Right.
I know it exists and I can't describe it to you. I got to find a picture of it for you. And like, I love borrowing from cultures that we don't typically look at,
Right.
or that we don't have readily accessible items of. But
Right.
Galactus, I think, just kind of piggybacking on what you said, tortured soul, um, in a very odd way, Galactus is just a huge, gigantic baby.
Yeah.
Needs to be fed,
Yeah.
and like he's not crying necessarily,
And he's gonna have a tantrum.
basically, and destroy your world. But
Yeah.
like it's just a big baby, and I think, even if you never thought of it that way, and now you're like, oh, that's kind of true. It's still a compelling character. It's still a very,
Yeah.
very interesting
Well,
way.
because when I'm hungry, I become Galactus.
Yeah.
You know.
I've always said
Come
that
on.
whenever I kill a mosquito, I don't understand why more mosquitoes bother, because I'm at a Galactus level extinction event. Kill a
That's right.
mosquito, like why do they still bite me? Um, my I'm gonna
Who's your fourth?
my fourth was Dark Side.
Oh, got it. And we just talked about Darkseid.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna
And
throw.
Darkseid, by the way, not only is like, but he's also a gangster. I realize the way he writes him is a gangster.
Yes, like I think that was part of. I wouldn't say it was the inspiration of it, but I think growing up in the Lower East Side in the 1920s and 30s, where gang culture was such a big thing,
Right.
maybe impacted him, like greatly, maybe more than we think.
Right. Right. Um, I have my next one is, and this is not in order,
Mhm.
is Claw.
Good choice. That's a great design, great
Great
character,
design.
like just a fun character that I wish had a better time of it in the Marvel Universe
I
movies.
know you got nothing in there, man.
Yeah.
You got the guy who played, Gollum and King Kong and all that, and then didn't really do much with him. And maybe they'll do something with him in the future. But amazing design, very simple, straightforward. Talk about something that has legs. It has to do with sound.
Yeah.
He blasts sound.
I'm gonna throw a crazy one at you right now.
Okay, okay.
Eunice the Untouchable is on my top 10.
Oh my God. You know what's crazy?
What's that?
He should be on my top 10. I totally forgot about him.
He is such
But wait, he oh right, you're right. He is a villain.
he's an X-Men villain
Oh,
who creates force fields, and that's why he's
wow.
untouchable. Uh, Orange costume, which you don't see very
Yep,
often. An
yep,
orange costume, and
yep.
his own powers are what basically kills him because it cuts off his air supply.
Right,
Like, but
right.
he's been resurrected a bunch of times. I just always like that costume, the attitude of the character. I just like everything about him. From the first appearance.
No, it's funny because I believe I have somewhere on here um a pitch that me and Nick Bertozzi pitched an Unis story or something to that's a Marvel character.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Wanted to do something and I don't remember what Nick wrote or what it was, but there was something out there. That's so crazy. I
yeah.
actually almost wanted to do a bunch of little honorable mentions.
Okay,
But no, we'll do that afterwards because
okay.
there's a whole bunch I left on the like.
On the
Also,
cutting
I'm
room
just going
floor.
with costume design. Like I love Baron Zemo.
Yes, he's not
Is
on
he on
my
your
list.
list?
No,
Okay.
I'll tell you who is
Uh,
on my list.
who?
We're talking about greens and purples. Kang the Conqueror.
You know what? I almost put him on my list, and I put him in the what do you call it? Honorables
Uh,
because I don't know if I care about him. I don't
I
know if I love him as a villain.
I've said it before on the show. You can put any time travel story in front of me, I'll read it.
That's true.
I love
That's
time
true.
travel stories. And Kang, like there's nothing more disappointing as a Kang the Conqueror fan than what happened with the movies. And I mean, people are people,
Right.
and some people are scumbags, some people are great. And it's unfortunate that we're not going to get to see the true
Well, I
base
did
form.
read that somewhere the actor who portrayed Kang is going to maybe get to be able to do a scene or two to kind of wrap up maybe
It'd be great. I mean,
what was happening, you
it
know?
it's almost irrelevant now, but I do say Um, as a character, as a Kirby creation, just I love
It's a
I love
great
that it's
design.
related to the Fantastic Four, even though he's an Avengers villain, because he's Reed Richards' ancestor, like or
Rama Tut, right?
Ramatut, Kang the Conqueror, Scarlet Centurion from the X-Men. They're all the same guy.
Right.
Like that's amazing.
That is fun.
Different
That is
version.
fun.
And Ramatut, there's also Immortus is the other one.
Right. Right.
But they're all the same guy. And then,
Right.
just like the costume itself, like there's nothing that got me so I hate that Ant-Man movie that he's in because
Oh yeah.
it's such bullshit. Like there's no way Ant-Man would ever, there's no way Captain America on his own would beat Kang the Conqueror.
Right.
I
Right.
digress. Thing that got that I was just like, like, oh yeah, you got it. Jonathan Majors sitting on Kang's throne, just like leg up,
Yep.
perfect. Like,
Yep.
and that's
Yep.
that's how Kirby drew him.
That's right.
Just
That's right.
amazing.
He
Um,
also drew Loki like that.
yes,
So again, I want to get through these because we're gonna hit 2 hours soon.
yeah.
Um, I have Arnim Zola.
I hate big heads.
I know, and that's why I didn't write Modoc.
Thank you very much. Arnim Zola, I can accept. Modoc, I cannot.
Yeah, and so all right, and then I have hold on. You know who I really love, and I was just like, God damn it, he's got to go on. Batroc the Leaper.
So good. Didn't make mine. Also, I love those colors too, purple and orange.
Yep.
Crazy color combination. Fantastic. Um,
And then, but give me one.
I'm gonna give you one, two. I'm gonna give you two.
And then
Because
and then I have two left on my master list
I
right now.
have three left, but I'm gonna give you two right now because we kind of talked about them tangentially with Darkseid, and it's Steppenwolf and Desaad. Like I
Oh, okay.
love how Desaad is just like exactly like the Marquis Desaad.
Yep. Yep.
But he's and Steppenwolf, just like that first original with the big long hair,
Yeah.
I mean a big
Yeah.
long hat and everything. I think just again like solid design,
Yep.
green,
Yep.
yellow skin, Darkseid's uncle. Just I think he's just like nailed it. Right off the like pencil onto the page.
So I'm gonna give you my last two, and then I have some honorable mentions that I'll do after your last one.
My last one's gonna knock you out. You
Well,
wait.
it might be my last two. We'll see.
Okay.
Okay. The Sentinels.
From the X-Men, yeah,
I love that design.
it's great.
And I love that they have they're these terrifying monitors that just scan. They're like predators and hunters and such a great design,
And they
you
only
know.
hunt mutants.
They only hunt
They don't hunt.
mutants.
They
Yeah.
don't hunt anybody with superpowers. They only hunt mutants. They don't.
That's right. It's like Terminator's hunting humans,
Yeah.
like and then speaking of the Destroyer,
From Thor.
From Thor.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that thing that visor that opens
Okay.
and claps
Yeah.
and it's all like these rings of like he's like a colossus but with
Bands
you
of
know
metal and stuff. Yeah.
bands of metal
Lights.
and he's just has one mission. Another one is just has one mission,
Yeah. So
and
good.
then I have honorable mentions that I can do after your last one if you want.
I prefer you to do your honorable mentions because my
All
last
right.
one, like I said, is going to knock your socks off.
Oh boy. So honorable mentions are Annihilus.
He's on my list, actually. I actually had two more, but he's on my
Oh,
list.
well, the bug looking science fiction creature in the negative zone.
Purple and
Uh,
green, too.
what?
Oh, he's purple and green, just like,
Purple green.
just like you were
Uh,
saying.
Blastar, the living bomb burst.
So good.
We talked about Kang. Ronan is an
Oh, Ronan the
interesting.
Accuser. He did
Ronan
create.
the
Oh,
Accuser.
he should be on my list. He's one of my favorites, too.
I have a bunch more. I'm going to be quick.
Oh, yeah, good.
I love the Sandman.
Spider-Man villain.
Yeah, Spider-Man villain. But you know what? I guess he didn't create Sandman, so that doesn't belong on there, does it?
I didn't know that. I thought he did.
Well, Kirby
Oh,
created
it would have been
Sandman.
Ditko. You're right.
It would have been Ditko,
Yeah.
so it doesn't belong on there. I wrote the Wrecking Crew, which I love.
Yeah.
You know, Mad Thinker is actually more. He's not a great design, but he's actually an interesting villain.
Hmm. You're
He
right.
does a lot of fucked up stuff. Psycho Man. We mentioned the Red Skull, I think, or not. Psycho Man is an interesting character for his design. And he has like this board that he
It's an
spins
iPad.
dials on.
It's basically an iPad,
He's got an iPad, right?
like from 1960 something. He's got an iPad.
That's right. And I said Red Skull, and finally the High Evolutionary.
High Evolutionary is a great design, absolutely phenomenal design. It
Yeah,
sucks that we didn't get to see it in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie in the full,
right,
but my
right.
God, what a great design!
Yep, yep.
So my final
So,
villain, Funky Flashman.
oh my God,
For the uninitiated, Funky Flashman is Stanley.
Stanley.
But he's I believe he showed up
And his sidekick's name is House Roy.
meaning Roy Thomas, who was
Roy Thomas.
the
That's
other
right.
editor at Marvel. Um,
Yeah.
Roy Thomas, without going into Roy and Stan and like the whole editorial and Jack's view of it, the fact that Jack had so much piss and vinegar for Stan made him a bad guy in Jimmy Olsen and stuff. So good.
Yeah.
And Funky Flashman is totally like, and there's not like, if you look at him, you don't go, yeah, he kind of looks like Stan. No, he's Stan Lee
No, it's Stanley.
all the way across.
Stanley. Yeah, that's an interesting. That's
That's one of
funny.
my favorite Kirby villains. Just dead stop.
Taking the piss,
Yep.
taking in public.
Yeah, for the world to see. So that's our list. Obviously, you guys might have other thoughts, and feel free to put them in comments. Our next episode, we're going to try to get a guest in because we're still going to celebrate Jack Kirby next week. We're still going to talk. We're going to actually talk more about the man and his art, and less so the characters, and more so the actual work. We're going to have a special guest. We're not sure who it is yet. We have a couple of ideas. We're going to surprise you because we're going to be surprised probably before the end of the week as well. Until then, thank you very much for joining us. Dean, thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you,
night.
Vito.
And yay, yay.
Yay, yay.
Good night, everybody.